Welcome, Scott Allan, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks. Good to meet you and welcome to the show.
Glad to have you on. We're going to be talking about your work. You are an author and motivational speaker. You have written several books on helping people untap their life or unlock the doors in their life that have been locked. And oftentimes, we are the problems. And today, we're going to be learning about what got you into the world of writing books, helping people find their true potential, and then realize that they can do the hard things in life. In your own words, tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help.
Sure. So my name is Scott Allan. As you mentioned, I'm an author, motivational speaker, and content creator. I got into writing books quite a long time ago because I was at a time in my life, let's go back a few years, probably about 30 years ago, where I had to make some serious changes in my life. So I started reading a lot of self-help books. And what I found is that every time I absorbed the information in one of these books and applied the action steps or the knowledge, I got a result, which was in most cases a positive result. I started to feel better about who I was, and I really liked that. I went from it being addicted to a lot of other things to becoming addicted to that. That was a part of the journey, was just realizing at that time that instead of reacting to everything and just living life by default, that I could create the world that I wanted. And there's a bigger story behind that concept. After I realized that I could do that, I made a decision to travel around the world. I thought that'd be a great idea. So I made a list of goals for myself. One of them was to become an author. The other one was I wanted to travel around the world. And I live in Japan, by the way. I've been here for 25 years. And this was how I got here, was just I decided I wanted to, I'm from Canada originally. So I decided I wanted to move overseas, try something new, go to all these cool places like Thailand and Vietnam. And so I would spend months and months just thinking about it, visualizing it, collecting books about it, reading about it. And I eventually created such a powerful vision for myself with the help of a vision board and journaling. And I made it happen after about a year. Part of what I do is teaching people that, and also reminding myself again and again that you can have anything you want. If you make a decision as to what it is that you want, you create an action list for how to get it, and you just show up every day working on that list. That's a big part of what I teach. There's probably a lot of other frameworks that I'll teach on stages or in podcast interviews, but that's the crux of it right there, I think, because if people can do that, they can pretty much do anything. And there's other things that go, behind the scenes, like dealing with imposter syndrome and low confidence and all that. But at the end of the day, if you know what you want and you're able to just apply action steps towards getting it, you're going to get some kind of an outcome.
Self-help and personal development can be addictive. I know there's a lot of people who they love Tony Robbins, and I think Tony Robbins is a great guy. And they will go to the seminars every single year. They have like the Change Your Life or the business seminar, and there's always a new seminar, it seems like. And they go to these seminars every single year, but yet they don't seem to make much progress. So it's like they get a boost of motivation, they get a boost of personal development, and it can change some people's lives because people do take action. But I think people think it's like a magic pill where if I'm sitting in the audience, I'm automatically going to get success because I'm around all the people who want it as bad as I want it. I paid to be here, so that's already skin in the game. But yet there's another aspect to changing your life. What do you think that key is for people to not just be there to read the book or be in the audience, but to take action to get to their goals and to their dreams?
Yeah. Well, first of all, yeah, I've been to one or two of those seminars. Not Tony's in particular. I've watched a lot of it. I've enjoyed some of them online, but those are really important to join. I think they're great because, as you mentioned, first of all, you're surrounded by people who are there to feel great, feel better about themselves. And that whole environment, that just upgrades your feelings right away, your emotions right away. And you feel like you want to do something in that moment. You're feeling motivated. You're feeling like anything can be accomplished during that hour or 2 hours while you're involved in that, seminar. I think what happens to most people is they go home that day or the next day, and now they're back in their same environment that's been holding them back for, years and decades, maybe. That's where a lot of people get kind of pulled back. Of course, we're going to go back to our old environment. And then what happens is we get back into doing the same things. Then now we're back in the same routine. We're waking up feeling the same. We're thinking the same way because now we're not surrounded by hundreds or thousands of people that were getting us charged up. And we're now just doing the same things that we have been doing for years and decades that have got us to where we are at that moment. And what happens with a lot of people is, and I've been there, is that we get stuck in that rut once again. The thing is, you have to, a lot of this comes down to mindset, I think, you have to show up with somewhat of a plan in mind, in order for you to change the future, you have to change as Joe Dispenza would say, you have to change your personality because that's who you are. And that's where a lot of people end up failing is because it's not that they don't know how to do it. Our old personality is so familiar that we'll just sit in it for as long as we can because it's comfortable, it's familiar, right? That's the thing is like with those seminars, the thing is that it actually takes you out of that. Sure, Tony does some things and other motivational speakers that make us feel uncomfortable when we're there. Maybe, whether it's, I don't know, walking on coals or dancing, I'm not sure. But when we're not, when we don't have that accountability, we tend to just default to our old selves. And our old selves are just used to working with those same old building blocks. If you use the materials to build the same house, you're going to get the same house, so to speak. Right. So that's where I think like, yeah, self-help and motivational books and everything, like a book will help you to a certain point. But eventually you do have to connect with people, I think, and discuss those ideas and work with people. You've probably heard the expression that you're the best of the five people that you hang around with. And if that's true, and I believe it is, I mean, look, it might be five people, it might be two people, it could be 20 people. But when you're in a different environment with people that are supporting your actions, your goals, and it just raises your emotion, right? And that's really where it's at, is like feeling differently about who you are, feeling like, I can do this. And when you feel like when that emotion is so strong, now you start thinking differently, right? Your mind starts becoming rewired differently. And when you take action towards something and you get a result that you've never had before, let's just say that something you've been procrastinating on, and finally, you go ahead and you start to work on that thing. And then after a few hours or a few weeks, you get it done. You've just proven to yourself that you're not as helpless as you thought you were. And I think that's the rut that a lot of people have to get out of, is that they have the knowledge, or they've read the book or been to the seminar and they've seen this and that. But when they go home, it's just, unless they're actually practicing that thing every day, they're going to just end up back in the same place they were before. So that's the thing. That's kind of the challenge for everyone, is to be able to, it's more than just having motivation. You do have to do things that are changing your personality or changing your thoughts, because your thoughts, actions, and feelings are all interlinked, right? And something I realize is like when my feelings are down, not like really depressed, but I mean, if I am, or whether or not if I'm feeling depressed, or if I'm just not feeling like doing it today, or I'm listening to my negative thoughts and I'm letting them run the show. Well, the results, I'm just not going to have a great day because I'm not having a very good experience. And so my feelings are going to be creating that moment. It's going to be creating my day. You've heard a lot of people saying, I'm having such a bad day. And I don't know if there's such a day as, I'm sure there are bad days and there are good days, but how do you frame those up? How do you frame a bad day? Because I think that's a matter of perspective, depending on, the environment people are living in, the mindset that they have towards that. I woke up yesterday. I'll give you an example. I woke up yesterday. I started off having a bad day because I started off having a bad head. Basically, like I was just thinking negatively. I was stuck in scarcity mindset. I wasn't doing the things that I should have done for my morning routine to actually make me feel really good first thing in the morning. And I just started defaulting towards a lot of negative thinking for the day. This morning when I got up, it was different. I was like, this morning when I got up, made my gratitude list, did some deep breathing, and started moving my body around a little bit more. And I changed my feet, my emotion, changed my feeling. And I could just feel something in me click, right? There's going to be a lot more that I'll have to work on today for it, but it does take work. But you have to realize that everything's not going to happen. You're not just going to, maybe some people wake up every day and just feel great. And if you're one of those people, that's fantastic. But a lot of people are just, they wake up and they start thinking about the same old thoughts, which leads to the same old behavior, which leads to the same outcome. And then we just end up, spinning our wheels like that.
Yeah, sometimes we just get stuck in a rut, and it happens to me too, especially with like social media, because even though I have social media managers and have people running some accounts, there's some accounts that only I can do because I'm not afraid to, I guess you could say, maybe be a little bit rated, PG-13, the messages can be a bit difficult for especially workers like, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And I don't mind hurting people's feelings because I'm here to tell you the truth. And I understand if you look in the mirror and you're not happy, we can acknowledge that, but we have to begin to take ownership. And when I'm slacking, I'm taking ownership. If I look on in the mirror and I'm not the person that I know I can be, I'm going to say, "What are you doing? This is not you." And it might seem like difficult, to be that strict with yourself, but it's necessary because you have to hold yourself to a high degree because if you do the work, let's say you want to get to a certain goal in your life and you finally reach the goal. Maybe you wanted to buy this beautiful house. You bought this beautiful house and that was your goal. Well, guess what? The house needs maintenance. You have to still be able to do all the things that you love. But some people, they just buy the house, they just let the house kind of die. They don't do any maintenance. If they need a new coat of paint, oh well. And everything gets put off because they reached the goal. And that could be for anything. It could be for a new job. It could be for a relationship. It could be for a goal that you set for your weight or your physical fitness. If we do not do the maintenance work, then we are going to fall back to where we were. It's almost like we have to keep on ascending. And one of the books that you wrote, Relaunch Your Life, is going to be talking about the beginning. But is there an aspect in the book that helps people remain or stay consistent on that journey to that better life?
Great question. So the concept of relaunch your life, it was a while since I wrote it, but I still remember a lot of the concepts in it. When I teach it, it's not about just relaunching your life like once and then it's done. And then, you can go on and live this fantastic life. For me, it's about relaunching your life. And I'll explain a little bit about what that means. Relaunching your life every morning, right? Every day, sometimes multiple times during that day, because you may wake up on the wrong side of the bed and then you may have a negative experience throughout the day, something might happen, but you always have the power to reset everything at any moment of the day. And that's really important to an important concept that the book focuses in on is that so yeah, there's like, you can relaunch your life, you can relaunch your moment, and then I break it down into, you can relaunch the experience. And just because you had something happen to you, and this could have been a traumatic moment in your life or something. A lot of people, like, what happens is, let's just take a traumatic moment. Something happened, and some people have been through some serious stuff, and we all have trauma to a certain extent. But the thing is that when we hold on to the past, it becomes our identity, and we carry that identity forward, right? Probably heard a lot of people say, well, Popeye said, I am what I am. And maybe that's true for him, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, yes, maybe you are this person today, this personality. And if you're happy with that, that's great. But if you're not, what if you could just reset that and become something else? So part of the book is actually focusing in on helping people to acknowledge the fact that they can change their identity, because this comes back to changing your thoughts and your emotions, is that this actually works towards changing your identity. You change your identity, you start to become somebody else in the future, even before you've arrived at that point. And the book talks about the mindset, or there's actually three, I think four mindsets in the book that I talk about. Like the mindset of self-rejection, for example, like that's something that holds a lot of people back, is the fear of rejection. Or what happens to a lot of us is we end up rejecting ourselves. When you change that mindset, you suddenly remove that obstacle. There's the mindset of fear, for example. Fear is a good thing, right? Fear can be a motivator to drive us forward, and it can also hold us back depending on how you use it. But that is the concept behind the book, is just that you can reset your thoughts, you can reset your mind, but you have to do it with intention, right? You have to show up, ready to step out of your comfort zone into a zone of discomfort. And you don't have to stay there forever, but you do have to stay there for, long enough for change to happen. Eventually we'll go back to our comfort zone, but then we just, we keep moving out of it, because one of my favorite quotes is, when the mind is expanded by a new idea, it can never go back to its original dimensions, with something like that. But I truly believe that, you've got to keep stretching your mind, because that's where the growth happens, right? And getting back to when we go to the seminar that pumped us up and everything, and then we go back to our same life that we had, before we went there, that's when we have to be able to step out of ourselves and become something greater than we could ever become. But you can only do that by building that identity for today and in the future. So I'm really big on not so much future planning, but visualizing who I want to be, not just today, but tomorrow, next week, next year. And with that vision, I'm going to see things in my mind that maybe I've never had before. I'm going to do things I've never done before. I'm going to help people that I've never thought about helping before. And this is just such a different switch for, I think everybody needs to kind of flip that on, and just but first of all, awareness is the key. Awareness that you actually have the power to change everything in your world. Yes, you can reset your life. You can create something that you've never had before. You just have to, first of all, believe that it is possible, but that belief only comes from the proof that we can do it, and that can just be a small win. Just one more thing the book talks about is those small wins, by the way, just racking up those small wins every day. Because I used to set really, I think it's great to set big goals for yourself. But the thing about big goals is that they tend to be something in the future that seems to be like, it's so big, like, how am I ever going to get there? But when you actually break it down, it's just a series of small action steps you're taking every day and every week, and just showing up and, plugging away at it, putting in the time. You keep doing that, and eventually, you'll get to your goal, you'll get to where you want to be. But that doesn't mean that's not the end of the journey, right? That's just, getting a goal is not, I talk about the goal setting a lot and achieving goals, but it's not the end all and be all. It's just a milestone that I think proves to you that, wow, I can actually run this marathon. In the beginning, I didn't think I could. And, I can actually write this book, or I can create this company. So
I wrote a blog. It's called Purposeful Prioritization. And this was a couple of months ago. And I talk about doing the things that are going to give you the most benefit or the highest meaning first. Because sometimes what happens when we are trying to change our life, we write down this whole list of everything that we need to do. And we could use a snowball method where we start small, we get the little things out of the way, and it builds momentum. But for many people, that momentum dies very quickly. So they might do something, walk the dog, go to the gym. Great, right? This is progress. But somewhere along the lines, we fall back to our comfort, we fall back to where we were. Think of New Year's resolutions, right? Everyone has this big, lofty goal for the new year. This year is going to be the best year yet. They say the previous year was so bad in their life and they cursed the year before. They say this year is going to be better. And this is a mindset, right? Because we're just saying this year is going to be the best year yet, but we have full capabilities in what our year is going to be. Similar to how you woke up one morning and you might not have been in the right frame of mind. You worked on it to get into that right frame of mind. Many people don't do that. And they focus on the little things and they hope they get to the big things. So maybe it was, taking a step back, going into those seminars, maybe reading a book. Those could have been the small things, but do they remain consistent? And you do have another book. It's talking about do the hard things first. The benefit of doing the hard things first, even if they're lofty, as you said, because you do have big goals. Focusing on those goals first maybe might not bring the immediate gratification of, wow, I did this big goal. But if you do, you have a higher ability or a higher chance for success long term because you did something that might have been seemingly impossible. So you have that bigger boost. If you do something easy, it's like, okay, whatever, you can already do that. You already know you can do it. But the hard things, when there's an obstacle, when there's a time gap, because it could take years in order to do the big things. What should we be looking at when we're looking at the hard things first?
So here's how I used to, and I still get into this trap, by the way. Here's how I used to run my life every day. Like, let's use this as an example. I'd wake up, drink some water, and then I'd dive right into my email. And I would start just doing all these tasks. I would jump right into a busy day. And I usually start really early. We're talking like 6 a.m. or 6:30 or sometimes even earlier. So I jump in, get into my email, and I'm feeling really busy and responding to all these people who messaged me overnight because I'm in a different time zone for most people. And I just got into this rut where it felt really busy, but I wasn't getting anything accomplished. And then there's all kinds of other things that I was doing. Like none of these things were real priorities, right? And I'd have 87 tabs open on my browser, and every time you look at one of those tabs, that represents an action that I have yet to take. So massive distraction, not setting priorities, forgetting what my goals were. They were written down somewhere and I can't find them now. So when I put that book together, and I've been like, I think chronic procrastination is always something that I have struggled with, even to this day. So I wrote the book. I think part of it was for myself because I really needed to, I came up with a little system where if I can actually, and based on other readings that I've, other books I read and other people I talked to, they said, try this, and this. So develop my own little system for that. But what I broke it down to, like do the hard things first, is really about doing one or two things that you've been putting off that are going to be a little hard for you to do or really hard for you to do. If you can do them first thing, then you're going to not just get the, it's not the point of like getting them out of the way and then moving on to something else. But again, it comes back to you feeling differently about doing something that you've been putting off for a long time. Now, you mentioned something, the purposeful prioritization. That sounds like a great title. Yeah, I love that because that was the crux of the problem right there is that I didn't have anything prioritized. Sure, I had a goal to do X, Y, and Z, but I wasn't doing the hard steps to actually make that goal a reality. I was just talking about it. And so what happened there is that I just ended up doing a bunch of other things that made me feel like I was moving towards it. It was an illusion, really. And I realized after doing this for like months and years, I was no further ahead, right? Doing the hard things first is designed to not just to get you busy, it's designed to get you focused on and this can be like one thing that you're going to do first thing in the morning. So one of the hardest things for me to do in the morning was actually work out, right? I know not everybody's into working out first thing in the morning, but what I found from doing that, instead of putting it off until the afternoon or the evening, is that if I did it in the morning, first of all, if I did that for even just like 15 or 20 minutes, I felt great. Like then I felt like going on to the next challenge. And so what I would do the night before is I would make a list of mine. I still do this, make a list of my 3 priorities I'm going to handle the next day. Now, those will be the 3 things I need to get done to move me towards my goals. Because, again, a goal may be made up of hundreds of little action steps, right? But that's the thing is that, if you can come into the game and know exactly what they are, instead of having a random to-do list, which is exactly what I had, I still fall into that trap too, making a big to-do list of all these things to do. And I realized like I didn't actually prioritize them. And so it doesn't really mean anything because now I'm just going to go back to feeling really busy again. But that's where the book comes from is, identifying what your priorities are and then just showing up every day have 3 of them that I can work on. Some days I might get 1 done or 2 done. And the third one I can default to maybe the next day. But the thing is, again, is that by doing that, it has proven to myself like, okay, well, I used to label myself as a chronic procrastinator. And that was one of the things that was holding me back is that label. Oh, I didn't do that because I procrastinate and that's what I do. A lot of people will label themselves as something, not realizing that it's just a behavior that you can actually change because you are in control of your behavior. You're making the decisions to work on these things. It might feel like we're under the spell of something that's like just pulling us into this every day, but the reality is, I was waking up with the intention to check my email because I set myself up for that by just having the tabs open. So when I realized that, I was like, well, I don't actually have to do that. I just made an unconscious decision to do it. And when I realized like I'm not going to do that tomorrow, I'm going to do something differently. Then I started to move towards something that I felt like I was becoming a greater version of myself every day, by taking charge of my life. So.
No, that's powerful because many people they mistake movement for progress. They get into the mindset of I'm doing all of these things, but yet I'm not doing anything. We all have the same amount of time in our day. I know sometimes you can catch a jet and go to like a different place in the world. You might gain another hour, but essentially we're all working with the same time here. We have 24 hours in a day. And many people just don't know how to utilize their time effectively. Many people they waste their time doing frivolous things that maybe make them feel good, but is not beneficial for them. And I know the culture here is different, and this is probably going to be my last question for you. The culture in the West is different than Asian culture. I know personal development education is big over there, and over here we have an outdated education system. We have TikTok dances, and we're doing all of these things that are distracting. Yet over there, they focus on education, building, family. It's not about taking tests, like when they're in first, second, and third grade. It's about building the character, building who they are, And then from there, they're going to be able to seek more empowerment. They're going to be able to seek more personal development. They're going to look inside, whether it be spiritual or mindful, and realize what did they need to do. What is the biggest difference you see when you move to Japan?
Well, one of the things is they're really big on doing things in groups. So they have a lot of accountability already. And I think, well, within families, yes, but also within the corporate structure. So, I spent a lot of years in corporate here, and that was the thing is like we always planned things together as a group. Nobody just went solo and went off doing their own thing. Like everything was done together. So first of all, that adds a lot of accountability. But people just I'm not saying everybody loved their job, but their job was a big part of their life. Like and their company was a big part of their life, right? And sure, back in the West, there's people who maybe feel that way as well. But I found like back in the West, we just tended to like when we got bored with something, with a job, for example, we would just go and do something different, and then go do something different again. But here, yeah, I think they're big into self help, personal development, meditation. Not so much meditation, but like being conscious in the moment is a big thing here. Like a lot of people are just like they're just working on the task that they have in front of them. I knew a sushi chef actually back in the day, and he was teaching me about his. I asked him, how is it that you have been cutting sushi for like 20 years? He says, well, first of all, I just this is what I do. He identified himself as like, it wasn't just what he does. He was really good at it. He had a very successful restaurant, right? But the thing is that he said, I just focus on, like in the moment, I'm getting better at it with every cut. Like he was so focused on the moment that he wasn't feeling like, oh, this is, I'm stuck doing this because this is all I can do. He knew that with every moment that passed, every piece of sushi he put together, he felt like he was getting better at this. And this was like 20 years of him doing this, right? So people just seem to be very focused on that moment. And getting to the culture of like the group culture. Well, when they are feeling kind of distant or they're feeling like they need help, they always have the group to rely on for someone to, help them with that task or that project or that problem. And then I think in a lot of cases they don't always feel like they're alone. Or I don't know, I can't really say for like like a lot of people in the West, maybe in other cultures as well. I'm not speaking to any culture specifically, but once we start to feel like we've been abandoned or let loose, or we're alone again, and now we're alone with our thoughts, which can be a good thing and not so good thing because that can take us down another rabbit hole. We tend to make ourselves worse. We start to overthink things, and then we start to feel like everything's hopeless. And from there, it's everything just kind of spirals into, towards some kind of a negative outcome. I think that yeah, certainly the cultures are very different. I did find though that they have a very strong belief system when it comes to the power of the group or the family, right? Like those are two things that people feel motivated to, even if they don't have like, not everybody needs big goals to shoot for. I think some people like, it's just the goal of showing up for my family and my friends every day. And, like that's my thing. I just want to give so much back to society because I'm feeling so much gratitude for everything that I have. So I think that, I'm speaking generally, of course, but that's the mindset of a lot of people. When I ask them, like, what makes you happy? They're like, well, I'm just happy by, like making dinner for my family or going on trips with my family and with my friends and things like that. I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's important because accountability, right? Just having people to hold you accountable. Going back to what we said early on, when no one is looking, when the lights are off, when we're home alone, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? And if you have a team of people, of family, friends, whoever, you are going to hold yourself to that higher degree. And it's not so much of you feel like you need to do it, otherwise everyone's going to ridicule for not doing it. It's that you want to do it and you see other people doing it too. So you want to maybe keep up with the crowd, but also you want to commit to yourself because you know you can. And as you said, there's certain places in the world where we will give ourselves this imposter syndrome, the scarcity mindset, negative mindsets or behaviors. And we just have to get rid of them. And the best way to do it is in a group. Think of AAA, right? The Alcohol Anonymous organization. That right there is built on a higher power, number one, but the second and most crucial part is the group aspect. We're doing this together. You have a hard thing to overcome. Let's do this together. And we have become very independent in our life. We don't necessarily need people. When's the last time you talked to your neighbor? When's the last time you went to the grocery store and talked to somebody? This is why I moved from Connecticut to Texas. The people here are so friendly. I mean, you can't walk down an aisle in the grocery store without talking to somebody. And that is what I want. This is the mindset. This is the lifestyle that I wanted to have. Not so much of living in a solitary type of mind state where I'm all by myself. I'm on this desert island when there's so many people to connect with. And this is why we have the podcast here to bring on wonderful guests just like yourself that can share their experience and then, of course, offer their expertise in books and just regular conversation where people can say, well, this was me, but it doesn't have to be me. And I just love that aspect to change. So as we begin to wrap up, I would love to get some final words from you and then for you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Sure thing. Yeah. Final words. I think it's really a powerful concept for people to, just realize like every day you have you have the ability, you have the confidence, you have the power. Really, you have all these things already. So I think a lot of us feel like we don't have these things. So we go out there trying to find it, like when I feel more confident, I'm going to do this thing. Thing is, it's already there. You just need to do something to move yourself forward. Now, that could be working out regularly. It could be reading books is great and getting that information is great, but you have to apply that information. And by the way, the Alcoholics Anonymous book was probably the first self-help book I ever read in my life. And of course, you're only going to read it for, if you need it, but that was just like, it's all about we, not I, right? Realizing that I'm not alone. I actually can surround myself with a community of people who not only can they help me, but I can help them as well. So that's the thing is like, I don't want people to feel like, and a lot of people are alone, they may feel like they're alone and maybe they really are alone. But if you can connect with an organization, even just one person, like you said, walking down the street and you're meeting people and just meeting and greeting people, like that makes you feel connected. Even they don't have to be people that you know, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna give you I'll just sign off on one little thing though. So I am really big on waking up in the morning and just getting things going from the get-go. Because if you can do that, your day is gonna have a lot more energy and momentum, right? So again, I get up, I'll do some deep breathing for a few minutes, right? Say 10 deep breaths. I'll do a little bit of exercise, nothing too heavy, right? 10 minutes maybe, and you can do yoga, weights, push-ups, whatever it is. Just get something moving and go for a walk, right? So moving your body is important. And then I'll spend 10 or 15 minutes doing creative visualization or meditation, where I'm actually like visualizing the day that I want to have, visualizing the person that I want to become, that identity thing, right? That's big. And just journaling these things out, writing them out, write out 3 things you're grateful for. Could be 3 people, 3 things, whatever it may be. And then just sketch out the identity of the person that you want to become. And it doesn't mean that you should be unhappy with who you are today. Be grateful for who you are today, because this is, you're resetting your day, and every day is an opportunity to do that.
And how can people find you?
Yes, they can find me at scottallanpublishing.com. And we also have a Shopify store site at scottallanbooks.com. Or they can also go to Amazon. They plug in Scott Allan Books or Scott Allan Author. I'm sure they can find all of the books there. So looking forward to connecting with everybody. And this was a great interview. Thanks for having me here today.
Of course. And I'll make it easy. All the links are going to be in the description box below so everyone can look at the work that you are doing, you have done, and begin to dive into motivation, self-help, and just beginning to start their life, whether it be from zero or it be from everything that they ever wanted, because there is no end, there is no stop. We get to create that limit for ourselves. I do want to thank you for coming on, Scott. A great conversation today.
Thank you. It's been great.